Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be continuing with the floor repairs on Ed. Now I've done a lot off camera. It's a lot of removing spot welds, removing overlapping edges, tight space, grinder, cut, wire brush, and it's so tedious and it takes ages. As I stand here at the moment, I am 20 hours into this of my time. Not all continuous, but yeah, 20 hours. And I'm nearly at ground zero. So basically I'm still cutting out rot. I'm at a stage now where I'm just prepping the metal, putting the primer and stuff on, and then I can start adding metal back in. But at this stage I'm still cutting out the rot. 20 hours in. It's so it will be rewarding, but it's sometime as well you just think, oh, this is so tedious, so boring, you want to give up. And that's why I've split it into hour sections, half hour sections, 2 hour sections. So what I'm going to do in this one, since I last spoke in the last video, I've ordered a few more parts. So I've got a fitting kit for the rear subframe. I have a Heritage Heelboard. I have a companion bin closing panel, Heritage, and I have the rear wheel arch to companion bin to Heelboard closing panel as well, Heritage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through some of the footage I've got that I've been doing along the way, just to sort of dip in and out to show you what I've been doing. I wanted to keep the closing panel here for the companion bin. It sits behind the companion bin here, and the outer sill and the outer wing, and it's just an extra bracket that sort of holds everything together and gives strength. So I tried drilling the spot welds out, but the problem I'm going to have with this in place here is getting access in here to cut away some of the stuff here. The other issue I had was this side, so I did try and get in here, and I probably could get this off, to be honest, if I drill some more of these out. But what I think I'm going to have to do is cut this to get access into here. So basically probably just cut it across here, and worst case, if it's savable, I can just weld it back on. 5 minutes later. So I managed to save as much of this as I could, but anyone that watches my videos know that, yeah, that's going to have to be replaced. So access to here is a lot better. I need to figure out, because this bracket here comes out from the Heelboard, obviously to get under here. I'll need to assess that. I will need to rethink about that. Okay, progress report. The toe board is in great condition. It's been rust treated and it's got the weld through primer on, just to keep any bare metal away. This area is what I'm working on now. I just assumed this would be spot welded down here, but it's not. It's actually the end of the floor is seam welded down here and at the top, so that's worth noting. And then I've still got the lip here to remove, but I've got concerns for the bottom of the inner wing. There's a hole here and I don't know how much of the lip is left underneath, so yeah, I'm going to have to go delicate on this. I've removed all the old floor from here all the way along there. Still got the back end to do, still got the middle to do. Done some work here to remove the floor from here, and yeah, the back end I'm still trying to decide what I'm doing with it, so yeah, I'll come to that. But I just thought I would jump in and give you an update on where I am at the moment. A lot of work, but I've been chipping in half hour here, half hour there, and this is where I'm at. I've made some progress to the tunnel. That's now rust free, cut back. The toe board is really good condition, don't have to do anything with that. The inner arch flitch panel. It's probably going to need repairs at the bottom, so I might get a repair section for that, just for peace of mind. All the steps getting replaced. The fuel lines I've managed to keep in place. I've treated them and coated them with a new coat of paint, so they're looking good. The bottom of the door bin, I managed to get the floor off quite well, so I'm pleased with all that. Which leaves the bit I've been dreading the least. And I'll bring the camera in closer to show you. So, I'll go around with the small camera and show you all the areas that I've done, the bit I'm up to date, and then I'll jump into the rear heel board, where the concerns have been pretty much from the start, but they seem to grow and grow the more work I try and do to it. So this has always been the area of concern for me. Initially, it just seemed to be on the lip here, but as I've cut more away and ground more back, you can see it goes a bit further up. You can't get in behind here to see what it's like, and you know if it's rotten on this side it's going to be worse on the outer side. It's very thin here. I think a rough guide, probably up to about here, would be good metal, but that's guesswork based on experience. Coming out here, you've got, this is all the way here. The actual holes, mounting points themselves are okay, but that means nothing if you've got corroded metal on this side, it's just weakened everywhere. The floor, the strengthening panel that comes from the heel board, had to be cut to get access into it, and it's not in the best condition. It's not rusty, it's all surface rust, but not the standard that I'm happy with. So initially I was going to cut all this back, do a new mounting bracket. The problem with the mounting bracket is it goes behind the captive nuts and it's all tied in place for strength, so that was not an option. I then noticed it was going back here, so I didn't know how far past the companion bin it was going, which leads me on to my next part. I'll take you on to the other side. I had a little drill with the wire wheel and the drill bit, and yeah, let's go and have a look at what I found. So yeah, very easily, you can see here, there's a hole formed. Now the hole's gone from that side to this side, so that takes away any chance of repairs making on this side. It's going to have to be a bigger repair, and it's going to have to be a new heel board. So that then moved me on to how far back does the rock go. I had a look at some of this metal just roughly here, and this is really solid, which it usually is because it's more protected hidden behind the heel board and underneath the car. With the sound deadening gone, takes away the fire hazard, and you can see the spot welds. So how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, which takes it to the centre. So 17, plus you'll have some down here on the closing panel. So yeah, what I need to decide now, am I going to drill these out from the top and plug weld a new heel board on, or am I going to grind it from the underside, leaving this metal intact, and use the spot welder? I think initially I'll cut the heel board out and I'll see what access I've got underneath once I've cut it roughly out, because then that'll just leave the flange. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to then need to drill out the spot welds here where the companion bin's held onto the heel board. I'm going to then need to get these bolts off where the subframe mounts on from the trunnion, but before I do that I'm going to need to obviously jack up and support the subframe and a solid part of the floor so that I don't get any movement here, so that I know that when it comes time to line up the new heel board, it's going to line up perfectly. Before I look at test fitting the new floor and getting it to fit, I'm going to make sure that all the areas around it are good to accept it. So the flitch panel here, there's damage here, slight hole here. I don't know what that is actually. I think it's possibly a hole from where there was an inner plastic arch fitted to this, so there's one here. That's fine because I can fill that with a weld. This one here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down here, along here, because all this area here is damaged as well. And I've just got one of the flitch repair panels, and I only plan to use the bottom couple of inches just to put on here. So that's what I'm going to do just now while I'm waiting on paint drying in other areas. The rot is cut out. I have cut out the part of the flitch that I need. It's a Magnum panel, so naturally it's a terrible fit, but I've managed to shape it, and I'll shape it a bit more once it's welded in. So basically I've got the welding clamps in here holding it in place. I'm not going to put any welds on it, not even any tacks at the moment, until I've trial fitted the floor. I want to make sure the floor's got a good seal, and it's a lot easier to manipulate this around the floor than it is the floor into a welded panel. So this can stay as it is just now. I need to move on to some of the prep at the rear of the end, but I'm getting closer to getting the floor trial fitted. As you will see here, the rear heel board has been cut out all the way along here to good metal. It's been unpicked from the flange that attaches it to the seat base. Now this was tricky, very tricky. I had to lie underneath, navigate around the fuel pipes, cover all the fuel pipes and the fuel filter, and yeah, I had to be careful not to damage the underside of this. Initially I was just going to drill and grind out so I could spot weld the new heel board on, but I found that trying to get access with the grinder was just not working, so I decided to drill from the top, and then I'll plug weld the new heel board on. Trying to get under here, this area here, with a spot welder was just too risky with the fuel pipes still here, so yeah, I opted to go for that way. Getting all this bit here cut was very tricky because I had to use the small grinder. Even still, there was terrible access, so it took a while, this section, a long time. I wanted to keep the rear bin in, the companion bin, so getting around here and trying not to damage it was tricky as well, but I've done it. I'm here. I still have to remove a small bit of the floor over here, but I'll need to wait till the paint dries. I've prepped the hidden area of the subframe. I have ground back the surface rust. It was actually in better condition than what I thought. Treated with rust treatment, and I've put a few coats of stone chip on it. Onto this side, again very tricky. Trying not to damage this flange here and getting access into here and here. I do have the closing brackets to go on here, so I wasn't too fussed about them, but getting access when I'm not taking the full quarter panel off again was very tricky. So I just took my time, chipped away, and here we go. I might still have to remove a slight bit in here to get the heel board in to fit. I'll see how it's fitting. The worst bit actually around here was the seam sealer. The seam sealer goes right in behind the subframe, and it was really thick, and it was just, I actually found that accessing getting in was more awkward than drilling out the actual spot welds themselves. So yeah, good peace of mind, that's there. I need to let this dry now, and then I can do a test fit of the heel board. But I've got a few other bits to do while that's drying, so yeah, keep myself busy. I've cut the floor along the tunnel because I don't need the full thing, and it's easier removing this here on this than it is on the floor in there, and then dealing with the gear linkage and the seatbelt mounts when the metal's good. So yeah, that's been removed from there. Heelboard off camera. I have been prepping on the rear and putting well through primer on the top, so that is drying at the moment. Obviously I'm trying to do the bits that I can't get to because I've still got the subframe in, so while that's drying I thought I'd get this floor offered up. I'm going to try and get it in place, but I foresee that the bracing I've put across the middle of the car will get in my way because it's not flexible. I can't go from the underneath a certain way because the fuel pipes are there, the bin is there, so I can see it causing a problem getting in, and I may need to move the bracing, and even then I might still have issues. I will come back to you. Apologies, the light has just started flickering for some unknown reason. Yeah, so I'll come back to you once I've got this in a reasonable looking place in the car. I've not cut to exact here, I've cut about an inch above because I can overlap, pull it closer, and then the plan is to, I'm not going to overlap the two panels, I'm going to get them lined up in a butt weld, because I don't want panels overlapping where they can trap water basically. As predicted, I couldn't get the floor in because of the braced bar across the cross member. So I put another one on further forward and then I've removed this. Hopefully it should fit. Stumbling block. The floor as it is with my current setup won't go in. It just won't go in. Quite frustrating, to be honest. So because of what I've taken off and trying to fit in, it just physically won't go in, and I've tried a number of ways, underneath, angles, down at the front, down at the back. It's, even if I remove this bracing, it's still not getting in, because the problems I have is the companion bin, the rear seat base, the rear seat bracket, and underneath the fuel pipes. So all of those together mean that this won't go in this way, which kind of gives me a few options, all of which are more work and more frustration, to be honest. One, remove the companion bin, but I'm still not 100% sure it will get in. It will give me more access, but there still might be something I'm overlooking. And then when I'm moving the companion bin, I'm then peeling away less strength to the car, so I'm less reluctant to take that option. Two, take the fuel pipes off, and again that involves taking the fuel tank out, dropping it, manoeuvring it if it will manoeuvre, brittle fuel pipes, round the subframe, and again I'm a bit reluctant with that. It's more work and I don't want to risk snapping the fuel pipes, because they're not the easiest to get a hold of for the single point injection. Third option, and again I wasn't keen, but is to cut the floor. So I'm effectively fitting the floor in two halves. So if I did cut the floor, I would cut it along underneath the cross member, so that basically when it's welded back together it'll be covered by the cross member. The cross member will give both sides the extra strength, and it basically won't be as visible. There are benefits to that because it means I can get in certain areas to add in strength with the spot welder rather than the plug welder. But I mean, obviously it's not my first choice because I want to keep the full floor because it's a full floor. If I was doing it that way, at least I knew the metal I was welding together was good to good because it's brand new metal. But I don't want to jump in. I'm going to have a wee think and see if there's a fourth option that I've possibly overlooked. But yeah, it's just problem after problem with this Mini at the moment. So I'm going to end that one there. I'm going to say thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!